Alright guys, I am back with my review of TNA Impact Wrestling for March 20th, 2014, and the show starts off with a brawl between Abyss and Eric Young backstage, and this brawl looked terrible. This looked like something I used to do in high school with my friends. It was ridiculous, and they eventually make their way to the ring, and Abyss chokes out Eric Young with a chain. And Eric Young wasn't too bad here, but Abyss just looks so ridiculous now that I can't take anything he does seriously. Then it's EC3 versus Bobby Lashley. And even though I'm not a huge fan of Bobby Lashley's, I actually thought this was pretty good here. EC3 low blows Lashley and he tries to leave because Lashley's just been dominating him, and he gets attacked by Willow. So Willow is beating down EC3 just like he did Rockstar Spud. He puts the chair on his foot, stomps the chair a few times. Then he climbs a ladder to splash EC3, but EC3 crawls up the ramp and escapes. Then backstage, Samoa Joe is yelling at MVP because Eric Young was supposed to be chained to Abyss so that he could watch his back during Samoa Joe's rematch against Magnus. Well, Eric Young is on his way to the hospital right now, so who's going to watch his back? And MVP's like, well, I'm going to have to find someone else. And Joe says, the more you try to fix things, the more they just get worse. At least he's trying to help you. I mean, if he did nothing, then Abyss would just be free out there. At least he's trying to come up with something. EC3 goes up to Magnus backstage, and he's pissed off that Magnus didn't come out to help him when he was being attacked by Willow. And these EC3 Magnus segments, anything they're in together, is just great. I love these things. So, Magnus is being a dick to EC3, and EC3 says, our business is terminated. And Magnus says, I could have told you that. I got everything I needed out of Aunt D. And EC3 says, watch what you say about Aunt D. And then Magnus says, I have Abyss, and that's all I need, all I ever needed. Gunner comes out, and his dad is sitting in the front row. And Gunner thanks his dad and his family for all of their support, and he says, I love you, Pop. Which always brings me back to WWE because of the whole Triple H, Vince McMahon thing. But he says, I love you, Pop. And then James Storm comes out. And he talks about Gunner's dad crying during the video package, talking about his son. And he says that Gunner's grandfather is looking down from heaven and thanking God that he's dead, so he doesn't have to see the disappointment that his son and grandson have become. Oh, this was so brutal. So, Gunner gets pissed off, Storm super kicks him and handcuffs him to the bottom rope. And he pulls his dad out from the crowd. And he's holding his face and he's like, look at your son, look at your son. And then he cracks his dad over the back of the head with a beer bottle. This was so good. It was so good. Oh man, this was awesome. I don't care what else happens on this show. They're not topping that. And Gunner's dad did a hell of a job. His facials from the confrontation by James Storm to selling the beer bottle shot. It was just great. Backstage, we see the bromans. Robbie, though, Jesse, though, and they go up to Tigre, Uno, and Sonata. And they're trying to tell these guys to lay down for them. And Zema Ion is laying in the floor. Sonata and Tigre Uno are looking at them like, what the hell is going on? It was hilarious. This was a fantastic segment. I'm sure they're going to put it on the YouTube channel. Check it out. Then it's Gail Kim versus Lady Tapa. And Gail Kim said that if Tapa doesn't beat her, she's done with her, which means Tapa's done with TNA. And the match was, whatever. Gail hits Eat Defeat for the win. And Taz says, Tapa's done with TNA, but this cannot be the end of this. Even though I don't care about this at all, I'm sure it's not going to end like this. I assume MVP is going to sign Lady Tapa to a contract, something like that. Willow is backstage with MVP, and Willow cuts this promo. Oh my god, it was so bad. He's trying to... What the hell was he trying? He's trying to tell MVP that MVP's problems and Joe's problems are not his problems. And this whole thing was like Jeff Hardy trying to be an actor. Willow? It was just absolute dog shit. And I was embarrassed for Jeff Hardy watching this, and even more embarrassed for MVP having to take this seriously. Angelina Love comes out, and she talks to Velvet Sky about reuniting the beautiful people again, and Velvet agrees. So Angelina says, well, we're missing a third piece to this puzzle. And she calls out Madison Rayne, and Madison comes out, and Angelina asks her to join the beautiful people also, but she's acting really rude to her. Like Madison's not as important as getting Velvet Sky to join. So Madison says, you've always treated me like crap, so I refuse the invitation. Samoa Joe comes up to Magnus backstage. Magnus tells him to get the hell out of his personal space, and Al Snow shows up and gets Joe to back off. Then it's the Bromans versus the Wolves versus Sonata and Tigre Uno. And this was a good match, a lot of fun, and I think it was a great idea to put Sonata and Tigre Uno together. I think this is going to help them get over more than if they just came out as singles wrestlers and the fans didn't really know who they were. So this was a good idea by TNA. They clearly have plans to push them as singles guys later on because Sonata is the X Division champion. But let's face it, right now TNA needs the tag team, and I think it's going to help these two in the long run. But this was a good match. The Bromans hit the bro down on Tigre Uno for the win, so the Bromans retain. Angelina Love goes up to Madison Rayne to apologize to her. She ends up attacking her from behind. She tells her that the beautiful people are Angelina Love and Velvet Sky. Then MVP is talking to Samoa Joe. He says he's going to handcuff himself to Abyss tonight so Joe can focus on Magnus. He says he wants to motivate Joe, validate his argument, and then participate. So they're still doing that MVP principle. I guess that's going to go on for a while. Then we get this video of Nuxie, Mike Knox. What in the hell was this? This felt like it had absolutely nothing to do with wrestling, and I was watching some type of fucking lame drama show. But he's talking about his dad and how he's got to go back home to see his family. Something bad must have happened, and his dad ran a carnival, but he wanted Nux to run it, and then Nux wanted to be a wrestler. You see how lame this shit is? So he hasn't seen his dad in a long time, and then at the end it says to be continued. Why? Why is this being continued? So Bully Ray is brought to TNA headquarters for a meeting with Dixie Carter. And he's in the room going off on her. We don't actually see Dixie. He's talking to the back of her chair. Like that didn't strike him as odd. And he's just going off saying, no one in the wrestling business likes you, no one respects you, the fans don't respect you, the wrestlers don't respect you, everyone hates your guts. And I got a funny comment on the Facebook page from Luke Kincaid. He said it sounded like Bully Ray was talking to Vince Russo. So that was funny. But Bully Ray says, I'm tired of talking to the back of a chair. He spins it around. It's empty. Bobby Roode comes out and attacks Bully Ray, beats him down, hits him with a sacrifice poster, and leaves the room. Now I have a lot of questions about this. If Dixie Carter is gone from TNA, I think she's gone. I still don't know. If she's gone, why was Bobby Roode allowed to use a room at TNA headquarters for this bullshit? And why did Bully Ray go to TNA headquarters if Dixie Carter is gone and he knows she's gone? And why was he talking to the back of a chair? Just really silly. They could have done something much better than this. This main event. Damn, TNA. God, everything has to be so freaking complicated with you people. So it's Magnus versus Joe in a rematch. MVP is handcuffed to Abyss. Oh, it's so bad. And Abyss goes for the tax. So MVP attacks Abyss. They start brawling a little. He grabs the tax from him and he kind of throws him down. And then he jumps over the stairs and hits Abyss. And then he unlocks the handcuffs so that he can go grab the tax and throw them up the ramp. So while he's doing this, Abyss grabs a chair and beats down MVP. And Joe sees this, so he goes to dive on Abyss. Abyss throws the chair at Joe. He misses. Joe still sells it like he got hit in the head, and Magnus hits the elbow for the win. That was it. That was the end of the show. So, this show, I wanted to say, was decent because you had some funny stuff with the bromans. You had the good triple threat tag match. The EC3 stuff with Bobby Lashley was good. EC3 and Magnus was good. But they just had some silly crap on this show with Bully Ray and Bobby Roode. Abyss, damn near everything Abyss does recently has been bad. I don't know. A lot of dragged out crap. The Beautiful People stuff, they did like 3 segments with them. None of which I cared about. So I actually have to say this show was below average for me. But that's my review. Hope you guys liked the video. Leave your thoughts on the show in the comments, and thanks for watching. Bye. At least he's trying to help you. I mean, if he did nothing, then Abyss would just be free out there. At least he's trying to come up with something. EC3 goes up to Magnus backstage, and he's pissed off that Magnus didn't come out to help him when he was being attacked by Willow. And these EC3 Magnus segments, anything they're in together, was supposed to be chained to Abyss so that he could watch his back during Samoa Joe's rematch against Magnus. Well, Eric Young is on his way to the hospital right now, so who's going to watch his back? And MVP's like, well, I'm going to have to find someone else. And Joe says, you know, the more you try to fix things, the more they just get worse. Dominating him, and he gets attacked by Willow. So Willow is beating down EC3 just like he did Rockstar Spud. He puts the chair on his foot, stops the chair a few times. Then he climbs a ladder to splash EC3, but EC3 crawls up the ramp and escapes. Then backstage, Samoa Joe is yelling at MVP because Eric Young with a chain. And Eric Young wasn't too bad here, but Abyss just looks so ridiculous now that I can't take anything he does seriously. Then it's EC3 versus Bobby Lashley. And even though I'm not a huge fan of Bobby Lashley's, I actually thought this was pretty good here. EC3 low blows Lashley and he tries to leave because Lashley's just been done. Alright guys, I am back with my review of TNA Impact Wrestling for March 20th, 2014. And the show starts off with a brawl between Abyss and Eric Young backstage. And this brawl looked terrible. This looked like something I used to do in high school with my friends. It was ridiculous. And they eventually make their way to the ring, and Abyss chokes out Eric